Hello everyone and welcome back to Riverbank Railways. This is January's update and we're talking about scenery, we're talking about ground cover and we're talking about walls and that's what we're going to cover today. Had lots of time over Christmas, so I got a lot done. We'll start off on the scenery. I was looking at the last video to see where I left off and I was kind of amazed myself at how much I got done since then. So as you can see, we have our hills and our embankment and stuff in place. And in the last video the insulation board hadn't been glued down, so that's all been glued down and then shaped, and then the next stage of that is putting the plaster cloth over it, and that was messy. This bit over here in the corner is quite far to reach, so I was up on steps to reach in, and then one hand resting on the layout while I was trying to do everything with the other hand. So I got my planks and my workout in when I was doing that. Very awkward. I won't make it that far again. But it worked out well. So the plaster cloth went on, minimum kind of damage to the existing thing. You know, it's very messy and wet and everything like that, so I managed to get away with it. And then on top of that is the sculpt mold. And I really like the sculpt mold. It kind of, obviously it makes everything smooth and it can get into little cracks and everything. But I found when I was doing it, that if it goes off a bit slightly or gets a little bit too hard in the tub, it actually comes out in this lovely texture. And it kind of has its own lumps and bumps and stuff kind of in it. And you can see more here, which gives a great kind of surface. I like it anyway. So after that then, I just got a tester of brown paint from Woody's and just painted over it, and then got my mud texture, and instead of grey I obviously made it brown and stuff and painted over certain areas so that the texture would come through if the ground cover doesn't completely cover. So that was very useful for like areas like this, which is a little bit vertical. And then ground cover. And the next stage of this is doing static grass, which I'm always a bit nervous about because you can go very wrong with static grass. I think you can cover it. So I've been kind of putting it off, but I'm going to get to it today or tomorrow. This embankment here is working quite well. I would have liked more space, but you know, you have to compromise somewhere. And the ground cover went on various different shades. Obviously everything should be random, blended as much as possible. You know, start off with some green and then some kind of lighter bits and darker bits, and you know, random, scattered. It'll always look good. It's going to be covered mostly anyway, and you can see just in here as well. And those bits of the corner of the tunnel, we'll put bushes and stuff there to cover up any you know, edges and that kind of thing. So that's worked out quite well. This wasn't too vertical. I thought it might have been a bit vertical, but no, it's kind of worked out well. And then obviously that continues on into the ground and made a kind of smooth transition into the ground with more ground cover on it, and down along here as well. After that I then ballasted in the gaps, and there was this new section of ballast up here. I did actually put that down, I did actually weather it, and I kind of over weathered it and it looked crap. So I put more ballast on top. There was enough space to put some ballast on top, and I'm going to give that a better go over with the weathering. So that's the hills done. Quite happy with these. Hopefully the static grass goes well. We'll see how it goes. I have some kind of, the embankments in Ireland, they always seem to have this long kind of yellowy grass at the bottom and mixed in with some shorter green grass, and I have that in stock and stuff, so we'll see how that goes. Then the next bit was the walls. So I finished off the walls. You can see they have their capstones, the pillars all the way along there. That was a whole lot of fun. Worked out well, so I think I'll do it again. It was just tedious. It's 3mm MDF if we get in close. And it was just, I sanded down into kind of a point and then cut some lines in it to represent the stones. And then gave it a grey wash and then some weathering. And also the front wall is done all the way along here. So, a little bit tedious. The pillars didn't come out right the first time, so I had to make some adjustments, but they seem to have worked out well now. And that runs all the way up along here. And I think it gives, the effect I'm going for is that you can take a picture and you're not going straight in from the baseboard, you're looking kind of over a wall as if you're standing at the wall. And that's what I was going for, just to border the layout. I think it works quite well. And last but not least was the ground cover. This is something I've been putting off for about a year because I started messing around with just this last year. And it's to get the ground cover right on top of the ballast. So you don't want to cover the entire layout with green, but at the same time, you don't want to just have, you know, ground cover that looks like this is a spot of paint that I put ground cover on and this is another spot. You kind of need to think about it I think anyway, I really enjoy it doing the ground cover, because you're thinking about, okay, what parts of the layout are unused? Where's any dips and hollows? Where would there be a bit of shelter that some weeds and stuff could take hold? And yeah, I just find it very interesting. And you know, it's not just random, it's random enough, but you're always thinking. So this siding here is going to be very rarely used. So the whole bottom of it, you can see the rails are rusty on top, is covered. And I'm going to be putting static grass and weeds and stuff on top. So you're trying to figure out, okay, the ground cover goes, where's the most growth? So like in between the rails would always be sheltered, and you'll find you'll get grass and stuff grown there. In the corners where it's unused foot traffic, the ends of these sidings or head shunts even, you'll see some ground cover, but it's not completely covered. Obviously, you know, down between the rails would be good, but this area is also used. So once you start getting up to the kind of used section, you taper it off, and you don't just stop it either, you kind of do a little bits and bobs all the way along here, down underneath. The point rods would get a bit of shade, and the same up along here. And this siding again, kind of disused, so it'd be heavy ground cover along by the edge of the shed, underneath a pallet that's been there for a while, that would get some weed growth. And then in this kind of area here, this is kind of some unused tarmac coming down into some mucky ground going into hills, so there's going to be a good bit of growth here, and the same here. And you can see the mud texture there showing through, that's why I use that. And then over here again, this is more heavily used, so just kind of in between the rails at the end of the sidings, under the buffers. This is an unused abandoned siding, so it's going to get heavier ground cover. And even, you know, down to the bottom of the relay boxes, kind of, yeah, I can't remember what that's called, but the wiring conduit thing. And then maybe even some dips and hollows in the ballast might get some ground cover and stuff as well, and get some weeds growing maybe along there as well. So yeah, it's really interesting. It takes time, you know, put it down, glue it down. The way I do it is I put a bit of PVA down, watered down PVA with some with some washing up liquid in it, then spread the ground cover over, and then spray it with IPA, and the glue will soak up through. It'll come towards the IPA, and that works well. You can see here as well, just some of those point rods and stuff that have been there for a while, they'll get some weeds and stuff growing on them. And that relay box around there. Yeah, that's it. But so static grass now is the next job. Obviously heavier bushes and stuff growing around the buffers, and then some isolated blades of grass, if you like, sticking up without ground cover, just for something that's starting to take hold. And that's the next job. Really into that. Oh, I did some, continued on with my algae growth on the tarmac, and then where the heavier areas are, just a little bit of ground cover there as well, where we might get some weeds and stuff. But that greenish colour has worked out well on the tarmac. That's it. Apart from that, bought some stock, got some lovely Irish coaches here, the Galway livery and some intercity super train liveries and stuff. From they're Murphy Models coaches, but they're sold by Irish Railway Models, so they came very prompt. And that'll make a nice rake on the bigger layout when we get to it, eventually. Could be a couple of years down the line, but we'll see. And that's it. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. See you in the next one.